The ideas that gave birth to our nation are the ideas that our nation is resistant to right now, and we should talk about that all the time.
In a world where narratives are shaped by corporations and gatekeepers, independent voices matter more than ever. Badlands Media brings together citizen journalists, researchers, and independent thinkers.
The truth is triggering.
Question the narrative. Explore the facts.
It's authenticity, courage, resilience.
Search for the truth others won't.
It's not about being first or being right.
The information war is changing.
It's about being authentic.
Embrace the friction.
Embrace the friction.
Shut the f*** up.
Authentically antagonizing. Join the movement.
I'm going to say how I feel.
Follow Badlands Media.
This is about the future.
The Badlands. What are the Badlands? Explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name.
Mr. Vice President, I'm going off script again, I know, but I just want to personally thank you. We've been through some stuff. We've gone through some of the most complex military operations this country's ever conducted, and your steady hand and your leadership during those was a great source of strength for me. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your character. Thank you for your selfless service. Thank you for commitment. Thank you for being a mentor to me, Mr. Vice President.
It's called the swamp. And you know what happened? And you know what I did? A big favor. I caught the swamp. I caught them all. Let's see what happens. Nobody else could have done that but me. I caught all of this corruption that was going on, and nobody else could have done it. Did I get that one right?
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Wednesday edition of the Devolution Power Hour. I'm your host, John Herold, and as always, and unfortunately, I'm joined by Burning Bright. Burning Bright, how you doing, man?
Pretty good. Was doing better, but I'm having a lot of Subaru problems in the last month. And
Your first mistake is owning a Subaru.
It's that time of the month for the Subaru, and it's really bugging me. What's really bugging me is the mechanics who keep assuring me nothing is wrong when I know that there are many things wrong.
What the hell? Well, what's wrong with your Subaru?
A month ago, I got a brake job. Full BJ.
Nice.
It was nice. Cradle
BJs
the
are nice
balls,
when
all
you
that
get
kind of
them.
stuff. You know, they paid attention. It was a good job. And they were like, hey, there's a recall. So while we're in there, we're going to do the front ones for free. Of course, they didn't tell me about this recall in advance till I was there.
It was a front BJ.
I did the fronts and rears, but the front ones were free because they did a redesign. So I was like, okay, that's great. It cost me like $600 when it would have been double that. And a week later, I kept hearing squealing and stuff. Mm-hmm. I brought it in. They were like, there was a big rock in there jammed in behind the rotor. So we took that out. I'm like, okay, well, was there any damage to anything? No, everything's fine. And in the 2-3 weeks since, my gas mileage is down about 20%.
Oh, wow.
There's a gravelly, sandy feeling when I'm driving, and it is squealing when I am braking at low speeds. And when I brought this in again yesterday, they were like, it seems fine to me. So now we're at the point where I'm like, this is not fine. You definitely fucked something up. And I don't know, maybe I have to go to like a private mechanic because I was the dealer because it's under warranty. Go to a private mechanic and show them what they did wrong and then threaten them or something. I don't know.
I doubt that'll work. I stand by my first statement when I said your first mistake. And maybe I just thought this to myself. I don't know if I verbalized it, but your first mistake is owning a Subaru.
Yeah. Well, Tesla just doesn't have a sensible family hauler, you know?
You don't need a Tesla either. You can really, I'd be okay with literally any other car other than the Lesbaru, man.
I am souring on the Subaru. I was big into it. We had a Forester for a couple of years. That was great. That's the best car I've owned. And then bought this one and a lot of problems.
I don't even feel sorry for you.
Yeah.
So
it's pretty messed up.
Is what it is. I hope you have more brake issues until you man up and get a different brand of car.
Put it on the company dime, I think. I think it's time I get a company car.
No, I'm not happening.
Not even consider it.
No, not even close. Especially not since you drive a lesbian car. If you drove a man's car and was like, man, I'm having an issue, I need something new, I'd consider it. But I'm not going to give you money just to get you out of a lesbian car. That's a step you have to take for yourself, man.
I will say the biggest advantage of driving a Subaru, which is something that people who don't have them will never experience.
Your wife picks up a lot of chicks?
That's true. But because it's got a boxer engine that is horizontal, the engine bay sits lower by like 2 inches than pretty much every other car. And because of this, your visibility in a Subaru is like you're in a plane, like a cockpit. It's crazy. So then when I get into like a rental car, like a Toyota or a Ford or something, I'm like, what is going on? How do people see out of the windshield? So that's one of the toughest things to get over. They call it the fishbowl effect.
Interesting.
There's just glass all around you. You can see everything.
I didn't realize that. I didn't care to know that fact until you told it to me.
Yeah, you don't
somebody
even
in
know
the chat
what you're not seeing.
did bring up a question wondering if is this like confirmation you squat to pee?
It is.
Okay. I'm just wondering how many ways we can.
In the snow.
You know, Zach owns a Subaru as well.
Yeah, he's got an Outback, I think.
Yeah. Does that mean like when you guys hang out, you like, is that called scissoring? Okay.
Suba scissor is what it's called.
Well, I wasn't sure what that's called.
Yeah.
When two male Subaru owners get together, knew there was something to it.
It was good, but this brake situation is bothering me. So it's been like 3 half days of work.
You know what? I know which car hasn't had any issues since I bought it, other than the windshield, is my Ford Bronco. I took it in to get an oil change before Deadwood. Because I chipped that thing on the way to Deadwood like a year, 2 years ago, year and a half ago. Last Deadwood.
The first Deadwood?
It might have been the first Deadwood. I've almost had that thing for 2 years now. The first Deadwood, I chipped that thing. And haven't fixed the windshield. And it's just the little chip that started. It's slowly like spiderwebbed out in like two directions. When I took it in to get the oil change, like, yeah, everything on the car looks really, really good except for the severe windshield damage. I was like, hey, you watch your tone. It's not that severe. But
20
it is
miles
kind of
around
severe.
that thing.
I don't know, like less than 20 still.
Yeah,
I drive to Deadwood a few times. I don't know. It does me well. But anyway, man, for those who don't know, today is the exact 5-year delta of launching the first article of the Devolution series. 5 years, which is nuts. It's been a long 5 years. A lot has happened in 5 years. The entire Badlands nexus is all because of that one article 5 years ago. And it's been a wild ride. So maybe
Little did we know we were all co-founding something like this on that very day. Even though we didn't even know you. You were just a sparkle in our co-founding eyes.
Yeah, it's not nuts how that works.
But when you put that out into the ether, we were like, I think there was a disturbance in the force. We all just felt like we knew we were a part of a company and had a legal claim to that company that would come up sometime in the future. And when you came calling, I was like, this could be that company that I have a legal claim to in the future at some point.
The platform I built from that first article was co-founded by all of us that very day.
It was
nuts. But
co-founded by many more to come too. There's still new Devo and Badlanders coming in every year, and they don't even know. We don't even know which co-founders are out there yet to be discovered.
Yeah, we find new ones every day. We found some new ones at this last GART too, this last weekend, which was awesome. Deadwood, South Dakota. Well, I love the GARTs, man. There's something special with the community we got and getting us all together. Not just us hosts, but with those in the community. It's just special, and we do know that times are tough, even though it's the golden age. We're not supposed to talk about it. That times are tough. We're looking at some ways and ideas to make these things easier to get to, because you got to come to these things. They're so many people say it. They're life changing. They really are. I even brought a couple stragglers from the conference back home with me. I got Ty and JC in my living room right now.
Forgot about that.
Yeah,
that's
Ty,
why he's gifting subs, because
did he?
He feels like it would be awkward if he didn't, because he's sitting right in the other room.
I'll have to check that out. Yeah, he did give
Snowcat gifted a sub right at the start of the show. Saw him and Leah in Deadwood. Leah's my Deadwood girlfriend.
Awesome.
I'd love to see them. Final Demand gifted 5 subs, and Indie Boy gifted 10.
Wow. Thank you, Indie Boy and Final Demand, all of you. My favorite part about the gifted subs is it tells us who wasn't already a sub. And it's like a way to shame them in a sense.
It is kind of like a shaming. And Phil Scarborough's on the list there.
Yeah. Well, this morning. So first of all, Ty kicked off. He opened up my daily show today. Like, I did all the intro stuff, and then it was just Ty on the screen. I mean, it wasn't really him. It was like the top of his head. You could barely see him. But he was on there sitting in my chair. His feet were dangling off the chair. Like, couldn't even put his feet on the ground. It was hilarious. But then he went out and he gifted subs during that show too as well. And my freaking mother wasn't a sub. She got outed as a non-sub. Yeah. And I about, I don't know, disowned myself.
Our mother, you mean.
Yeah, our mother. Who was in Deadwood also, which was great.
She was. Yeah, it was a great time. It was great to see DJ. Hadn't seen DJ in person since GART 1 and 2.
Oh, yeah.
So that was pretty awesome. He had some fun.
He's great.
Nothing bad. But yeah, he was great.
All of them were great. We saw so many people. We had, I would say, less regulars there, because we have some people that come to like multiple GARTs, right?
Yeah.
They chose not to do the Deadwood one. But we had a lot of new people there.
I was surprised by that. I thought it was going to be the total opposite, just because it's harder to get to. Logistically, I was like, oh, because it's harder to get to. I guess it makes sense in hindsight that I think a lot of regulars are like, I've either been to 1 or 2 Deadwoods in a row, so I'm going to wait for another one. In hindsight, it makes sense. But for some reason going in, I was like, this is mostly going to be regulars. There might be a handful of newcomers, but...
Yeah, it was total inversion.
A lot of the people that came out to me were newcomers. And it's good to see. The other thing, and I said this at Nashville, it held even more so in Deadwood. But the demeanor of the Badlanders is it just feels chill. It just feels like, it's funny because we're still talking about, we as a community are talking about like really complex things, controversial things, emotional things sometimes. And yet, like, the further we get into this stuff, the more just calm and rational and like chilled out our whole audience is. And at this one in particular, it felt like, you know, when people were going to the bar or doing whatever after the panels, it used to feel like this thing even 1 year ago where I feel like it was the speakers and the guests, like the audience. Yeah. And of course there was mingling, but it felt much more like they're here to see the speakers and everything, which was weird for me originally. The last couple, it has started to feel much more like we're all just Badlanders and some of us are going to this bar and some of us are going to that bar. I don't know. There's like a blending of those lines that I think is good.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think on the demeanor point, it really comes down to the way that we approach, I think, the info war and a lot of these topics. And we strive for not just the friction. We talk about so many different various things going on, or, bicameral pieces of information, whatever. And it's also, we don't get emotionally attached to like any of the headlines. And so when wild stuff happens, we don't freak out. And so it's just a constant like low stress. We're enjoying the ride type of feel, and that's always on display at these things, especially just getting to hang out with everybody. It's so good. It's
like a slight vibration in your left foot when your front left caliper is clearly sticking a little bit. It's just how it kind of feels. It's a low grade stress.
Is it that vibration like when you're sitting in a chair anywhere and you're just like shaking up and down the entire time?
I create my own vibration if there's not one present.
That is another great thing about the guards, is seeing you on stage and seeing not just like your nipples up. We get to see your legs and how often you freaking you're insane, man. But we all have our little things. Ghost, when he talks, he goes side to side.
He spreads out the most I've ever seen somebody spread out.
I know. And he's just just twisting in that chair. We got to not do the twisty chairs anymore.
Yeah, he's like very aggressively relaxing.
Yeah. And he wore the thick blaze, like the winter blazer, which is like
there were some
the winter blazer is an interesting choice for summer. I mean, blazers themselves, I get it, but is that what they're called? No.
I don't know. A vest.
Vest. That's what
like
it was. Not blazer.
Vest. Yeah,
like a poofy. Vest. It was a poofy winter vest.
Yeah.
And interesting choice for.
He was wearing it over like a button down, and I thought he was just memeing, but
like
I think he was doing that unironically. Like he just does that as a person. And the first couple days, like I think the first day, it was actually kind of cold, like cool, much cooler than I thought it would be. But the next few days were like up toward 80 during the day, and he was walking around in the sun wearing a button-down long-sleeve shirt and a poofy ski vest.
Yeah, it's an interesting choice. But he looked
was
great.
Like hiding some heroin tracks or something. I don't know.
He pulled it off. Like, so we're not saying he didn't look great. It was just an interesting choice. But hey, not going to knock him.
Pool in that. He just kept it on the whole.
I heard he was great at pool too. Is that true? I heard you were not great at pool.
I was actually quite good at pool. You and I played pool once in Texas, and I was not good that night.
Yeah, I smoked you. Or no, were we on a team that night?
We were on a team, and
you are the reason we lost.
We were against somebody who was like otherworldly good, but I was also horrible.
But didn't Ghost beat you every time he played you or something?
That was fake, and there's plenty of people that would acknowledge it, and I think Ghost would be the first. He was using Kabbalah magic because we were playing slop rules. And the slop, it turns out, heavily favors Ghost, because there were several occasions where he just smashed a ball down the line and two went in on the opposite side of the table. So Caleb was the pool shark of the night. Ash's Caleb was definitely the best. I would submit that I was the second best. CanCon and I, when we partnered up, I think we're actually kindling something here. We still hate each other. But when it comes to pool, we might have found a spark. Because once I partnered up with CanCon, we immediately beat Caleb and Ghost in game 1.
Hmm.
And then in game 2, we had them by like 4 shots, and then CanCon scratched on the 8-ball.
Oh yeah, CanCon's notorious for not winning things. So,
but there's something there for Vegas, I think.
Maybe we can do some sort of pool tournament or something. I don't know. We did a golf tournament this last one, so I always think back to when I was in college. I think I told you this story when I was in college, up at UND. Me and my buddy, we wanted to take a class together, and we needed like a not a slough class, but you need like one, I don't know, recreational class or something. So we took pool together, and so every day, like once a week, we would go play pool for like an hour for the whole semester, and then based on how you did, because you practice for a little bit and then you play one game, and based on the record, they would do a tournament at the end, and it was supposed to be like a one-on-one tournament, like a individual tournament, but because we had a weird number of people and had to play a couple extra weeks, so everybody played each other at least once, we had a shortened time at the end, and so they did a team tournament, and because I'm not trying to brag, but I was the first place in our league, I got paired with the worst place person in the league. And I'm not saying he was the worst but he had cerebral palsy. And so we immediately lost our first game. And I've just been salty about that ever since, because I had a great run that year. I think only lost like one game or one match or whatever. And I haven't really played pool since. Not really.
This Deadwood gave me the itch and made me remember that after I cleaned my basement up, I have a really nice pool table in my basement because the previous owner couldn't get it out. So I got it.
Do you ever use that thing?
No, and I need to now that I've got the itch. I got to get into training. Basically, after the baby was born, leading up to the baby, and then following, it was a gathering place for all the things that we were going to need.
Yeah, but, interesting.
Yeah.
Well,
my previous owner sold me the house without including the pool table in the contract. And then I was like, well, there's a giant pool table here in the basement. He said, yeah, I don't know how I'm going to get it out. Would you help me? And I said, no. So, it's like a really nice one with like slate, real slate, all that kind of stuff. You can't even budget. And he's like, we wrote into the sale of the house that I gave him 90 days to get the pool table out, and it was his if he could get it out. And then on day 91, he said, it's yours.
Wow. Well, you should have been like, I know it was 90 days in the contract. So
yeah,
I knew that. Anyway, we have, what else are we going to talk about tonight? There's an interesting election story I think we should get into. The guy I talked to, who he's not a source, but he is more well-connected to things. He went and looked at the supposed DNI election evidence, and I have a comment I can read about that. Trump was in the Badlands today, and he even said Badlands. That was kind of cool.
Commented on the name.
Yep, we got another clip, a decode that, if just throwing this out there, if Trump would say the name of another network at any point, it would be like they would freak the F out. They would consider that the biggest like comm or whatever of all time. And we kind of make fun of ourselves calling it like a Badlands spoop. But it's awesome when he does it. So the fact that he flew for the first time in the new airplane to Bismarck, North Dakota, when there are closer airports, by the way, there's airports in Dickinson. I'm pretty sure there's even one near Medora, but they chose to fly all the way to Bismarck on the 5-year anniversary of the launch of the Devolution series. And then he goes to the Badlands and says Badlands. I mean, come on, guys. Like that's direct confirmation that we're over the target on everything. We're never wrong. Trump loves us. You all need to watch us, support us, and all those things. Like it's just direct confirmation. I don't know how else you could look at it.
Normally I would say it isn't, but I didn't know until you said today that the anniversary thing is kind of interesting. It's fun, if nothing else.
They waited. Okay. It's been 107 years since Teddy Roosevelt died. They could have opened this library at any point in the last 107 years, but they chose the 5-year anniversary of the Devolution.
So what does Roosevelt have to do with Badlands Media? That's what we got to kind of dig into. What's the connection there?
Did you not listen to the speech?
No, I haven't. I only saw some clips from it.
Do you not know Teddy Roosevelt's Badlands story? Like why he came out this way? Oh, man. do I got a story for you? So he was, I don't even know where, I think he was living in New York or something, just broing it up, married, also living with his parents or his mom anyway. And on the same exact day, both his wife and his mother passed away. Same day. He was like devastated. And the way Trump tells it anyway, which is a funny way of telling it, he like goes out to the Badlands to like rediscover himself. And he shows up, he's like 140 pounds. He's like sickly and gross. And then he puts on like 40 pounds of muscle and just becomes this badass. And then goes on to take over the world, essentially, becomes president and all that stuff. And he credits a lot of, what made him a president, his time in the Badlands. And if you ever go to the Badlands, you'll understand why, because it's just rugged, honest, good people.
I haven't
out
even
that
gone
way.
to the actual Badlands, and I've been in Deadwood 3 times. So that's a
bit
of a travesty.
It's a mistake. Hey, you were also invited to come here with Ty and JC after this last guard.
I don't have the time. There's too many
no.
guards. I don't have the time to stretch them.
Okay, well,
stretch the visits.
Now that our guest room is cleaned out, the invitation is on the table.
All right.
So we'll figure that out in the future.
Show up
anyway,
unannounced.
Please, we love unannounced guests. But how about this? Let's get a quick word from our sponsors of today's show, and then we can, I don't know, just see what happens, see where we go. And first up, we got CB Distillery, I believe. Oh, it's not even in there yet. We're gonna have to we'll do Rumble Wallet first. If I can get it pulled up here. There we go. All right, quick question. How much control do you have over your money right now? Technology has changed everything, and now it's changing how money works. Crypto started as a niche, but now it's going mainstream with faster payments, more control, and fewer middlemen. This isn't just hype. It's just where things are going. And getting started today is easier than you think. By the way, Trump's financial disclosures came out, I think yesterday or the day before. Trump owns over $50 million in Bitcoin, and he made over 600 some million or maybe it's even over $1 billion. I don't remember the exact number.
1.4 billion was the number I saw that the media was saying 1.4 billion in crypto assets.
In crypto, yeah. And that's just in his first year as president. That's how much he made. And so
he made as in he profited or he holds?
I think he profited that. But regardless, Trump is into crypto, clearly, and you should be too. And with Rumble Wallet, you can buy Bitcoin, you can hold dollar-backed stable coins, you can even own digital gold backed by real gold, all in one place. It's a non-custodial crypto wallet, which means you, not a bank or a platform, can control access to your funds. Setup is super simple. It connects with MoonPay, so you can use your debit card, credit card, or bank account and be up and running in minutes. For a limited time, you can actually start your wallet, almost 1.4 billion, but free $10 in stablecoin. Not quite 1.4 billion, but close. On its way. All you have to do is download Rumble Wallet and enter the exclusive promo code DPH10 when you sign up now. You can even use your Rumble Wallet to support your favorite Rumble creators like us here at Badlands. So scan the QR code or click the link in the description of this video or go to wallet.rumble.com/DPH. From there, download the Rumble Wallet and get your free $10. Like every time this ad comes up, and it's a limited time ad, so I'm wondering how long they're going to do it. But it blows my mind that not everybody in the chat has already done this, because I know there's people that haven't. It's a free $10. And in this economy, that can go a long way. Limited time offer, act now.
In the year 2140, when the last Bitcoin block is mined, there will be great-grandchildren of OGs who had the chance to get $10 in sats through the Rumble Wallet. And they're like, why didn't Grandpappy do it, Mom?
Yeah. Could you imagine looking back then? It's like
code, son.
$100 million worth of Bitcoin today was worth $10 worth of Bitcoin back in.
Well, if you get to dollar sat parity, which is I hope where we head at some point while we're alive, that'd be great.
What would that make it?
That would mean one Bitcoin would be $100 million.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Just like, let me think about that. Yeah. So a tenth of a Bitcoin would be $10 million, right? And a hundredth of a Bitcoin would be $1 million.
Yeah, I'm in favor.
0.01 Bitcoin would be $100 million.
Where do I sign up for that? Like, how do we make that happen?
Well, The
By
maxis,
everybody getting Rumble Wallet free $10. That's where it
that's
starts.
it. I think that's it. If everybody did that right now, we're there pretty much. This is not a Ponzi scheme, I swear. And we won't sell once it's at $100 million. We'll all have diamond hands until everybody gets out.
Yeah, that's funny. But yeah, get yourself Rumble Wallet. We do have another ad, a Rumble Studio at CB Distillery, but we'll get to that a little bit later. Instead, we're going to do the new lotion detector ad because it's amazing. Green Star made it, and it's with Trumping in the Badlands today, the anniversary of the Devolution series. Just so many patriotic things going on. The USA soccer team one, that I'm not going to lie, first time I've ever sat down and watched almost a full soccer. I didn't watch the whole thing, but most of it. And it was like, I get it. I get
doing that.
I couldn't do it if it was any other team but the United States playing. I would have turned it. I wouldn't have even started watching it. But I was like, okay, USA is playing. Let's do it. It was intense, but in a weird way because every time anybody touches each other, they like, it's like they're dead.
It's
like somebody. It's real bad, and that's the part that drives me nuts. I was even talking to my son about this. It was like, man, he's just faking it. He's just faking it. He's like, why are they faking it? Like, why would they fake it? And we were having this whole conversation. It got to a point where he was trying to, well, if is faking it a good thing? I was like, well, no. Like, if you're faking it and you're lying, and you use that to score a goal, that's you shouldn't feel good about that. You should feel like you cheated. But in soccer, because everybody does it, it's like the norm. It's just so stupid. But anyway, that's besides the point. Very patriotic day. And because of that, we're going to play a 3-minute long patriotic ad spot for soft disclosure. And then we'll talk about the products on the flip side. And then we'll get into some real topics right when we get back.
Incoming call. Connection established. Ready to proceed.
Hey, Brian, this is ZP. I'm on my way.
Okay, where are you taking me?
Back to the 70s. This isn't the 70s.
Muffin, stop it. Is that a British soldier?
Oh no! My face! It's so soft! What is this?
While we're here, we might as well have some fun.
What do you think you're doing? Hey! Ouchies!
America owes you gentlemen a debt. How may the nation repay you?
Flame of revolution, let the old world hear us roar. Freedom rides on every heartbeat, marching louder than before. From the Delaware to tomorrow, soft disclosure fans the flame. For the hands that built this nation, may no cracked hands yet remain.
Softdisclosure.com. Promo code 1776 for 17.76% off. And as awesome as the commercials are, which they are remarkably awesome, there's no doubt about it, the only thing even better is the products themselves. Do yourself a favor, go to the website, softdisclosure.com, look at the reviews. Just look at the reviews on any of the products, whether it's the lotion, the deodorant, the beard, it doesn't matter. Look at any of the reviews, and it'll blow your mind. They're all amazing, and they're all real, and they're all true and honest. Like it's incredible. People rave about the product. They think of it almost as like a joke, like, oh, they're selling lotion.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Well, we make it a joke, but it really is good shit. The only one I use consistently for me is the beard oil, but I use it every week, and it's actually become my trick because I hate shaving.
You only use it once a week?
Yeah, I don't use it every day.
Why?
I don't know.
Maybe that's why your skin was looking a little like
ashy.
Blah.
Yeah.
Because I use that shit every day, and I put it literally all over my face. I also use a deodorant every day, and as a lotion mogul, lotion Ayatollah myself, you'd think I would use lotion every day. That's the one product I don't use every day.
Right.
But I use it 3-4 times a week. Anytime my skin's feeling a little dry after my son's baseball games and practice, you got that throwing the balls around, got the dust, hands feel a little dry, throw that on there, and it's great.
We use my son had very sensitive skin, especially the first year of his life, and no lie, we use the Soft Disclosure lotions on him because it's good stuff. It's some of the only stuff we will use on him.
I did make myself a lotion Ayatollah image. I totally forgot. Where did I put? I think I sent it to Chris Musgraves because I was going to pull it up during GART, but then I forgot. Hold on, I can do this.
We're apparently moving a bunch of Soft Disclosure post GART, and part of that might be the new ads, but I think a lot of that is coming because people who are at GARTs are either buying Soft Disclosure or winning it. There was a bunch of people that won Soft Disclosure at Deadwood. And once you get it, that's how we get you in. We make no bones about it. We're looking to hook you on some of this stuff like crack.
Oh yeah.
And once we get you in, that's recurring revenue right there. And in all seriousness, it helps to set a foundation under the company because otherwise it's a crapshoot.
Yeah, well, that's what's really funny. We did give away some. I think all 12 jurors were told they could get Soft Disclosure, and only 3 of them picked it up, or something.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
Lotion Ayatollah right there. Negotiating better skin for the world with the Trump administration. Anyway, okay, let's. We kind of already did the Devil recap thing, and I think I'm coming on your show, The Narrative, not this Sunday, but the next Sunday, and we're going to do more of a. That's when we kind of do the retrospective.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much we need to get into it tonight.
I think it's good timing. No, I'll just set it up to give people a preview. So not this Sunday, but the 12th. John's going to join The Narrative. I've been wanting to do this for a little while, and this is a good time for a retrospective because we hint around it and we speculate aloud on DPH of maybe Devo never really ended, or maybe it only kind of ended, or maybe it's still going on in some capacity, etc. But you know what? July 2026, here we are. We knew heading into 2026, or we thought heading into 2026, that the midterms was going to be a new struggle session topic, especially within the truth community and within MAGA. We saw this in 2022. We projected it coming into this year. Because of where we're at and because of what we talk about in terms of the tension within MAGA, within the truth community, within the Republican base, etc., I think it's an interesting time to sort of, I almost want to have us steelman the argument of some form of COG still going on right now, even if you don't truly believe it. If it was going on, what would the mechanisms be? What would it look like? What would the purpose be? Because the reason I'm thinking about it so much lately is not just because we never have any clear indication that it ended, I guess, besides Trump being reinstalled as president publicly, is that tension, is kind of that feeling of the job doesn't feel done. The job of why devolution would have been implemented in the first place doesn't feel done. So does that mean that COG is still going on? It'd be cool to hit it from some angles that will allow us to revisit just a lot of the research and how COG actually works, and then who was the target of it. Was it really the Biden administration, or was it the deep state? And
Yeah.
has the deep state been defeated in the U.S. government or not? That's some of the stuff I'd like to talk about.
Yeah, I think it's always fun to hit it from, new and interesting angles. And I think that's an interesting one because I look at it a couple ways too. When all the things we looked at, or at least I put in the series of, the biggest, most important executive orders or whatever it was that led to the creation of the Devolution series and whatnot. 13961 is the one I'm always thinking of. When Biden, the day before he left office, partially revoked that, he was like, man, what the hell what does that mean? What could that, is it over? Is this like a sign? What does this mean? But literally the day before Trump was to be inaugurated, the most important executive order in the Devolution series was partially revoked by the Biden administration. Just super weird timing and everything.
Yeah.
And when Trump gets in there, and in March of 2025, he orders a review of the continuity plans and everything. And one of the ones they put in there was Executive Order 13961 and Biden's partial revocation of it. And there was supposed to be a new report and a new national resilience strategy that was put out within 90 days of that order. And nothing's happened. It's been over a year and a half since it was due or something great. Over a year since it was due. It's July. Yeah. It's over a year since that thing was due. And
so they were going to do a review of the executive order or of Biden's revocation of it.
Here, let me show you.
Of it.
Let me show you the actual executive order. Plus, by the way, we did get a new Department of War directive that had the word continuity of government in it a couple of times. So that was interesting. But if I go to the Federal Register, and let me share my screen. All right, we'll do 13961 presidential document. We'll search for it. Here's Biden's partial revocation of it. And then this is what Trump did early in March of last year, March 2025. And within 90 days, I got to find, 180 days. Maybe that's what it was. No, that can't be it. Here we go. National continuity policy. Within 180 days of the date of this order, the Assistant to the President for National Security Affairs, in coordination with the heads of relevant agencies, shall review all national continuity policies and recommend to the President the revisions, rescissions, and replacements necessary to modernize and streamline the approach to national continuity capabilities, reformulate the methodology and architecture necessary to achieve an enduring readiness posture, and implement the national resilience strategy described in subsection A of this section. The policies to be reviewed and recommended for modification as appropriate are included, and I'll get to that in a second, but part A here, a new national resilience strategy within 90 days of the date of this order, and we haven't gotten it.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the orders that they're going to do is this one, where I thought 13961 was in this. Oh yeah, here it is. 13961. And then Biden's right here. Executive Order 14146 was the partial revocation of it. So they were going to review 13961 and the revocation of it, give us an update, haven't gotten it. So why haven't we gotten that yet? And it's way overdue. And this is like a normal standard thing that they do every now and then, at least every 4 years. And I understand that Trump did it at the very end of his first term. But the fact that they have this executive order out there, and I've posted about this on Twitter a couple times. Marco Rubio is currently the acting AP NSA. They haven't put anybody else in there yet. Maybe he's just wearing too many hats to do this. But regardless, this is the fact that we haven't gotten any insider details into this, and this is the stuff I've been kind of keying in on almost as much as the election stuff. It's
it's so related to the election stuff, which again we can get a little deeper into this next week. But it's so related to the election stuff because I know it might sound like shorthand or whatever offhand snide comments that we make about Congress, but just from a first principles perspective, from a logical perspective, if the 2020 election was stolen, then the Congress incoming at that time was illegitimate by rule. And then 2022, 2024, we can argue about. I think we believe that the election system has not been fixed, despite Donald Trump being the president. So that's kind of been the foundation for me. It's very simple. It's a very simple way to look at it. But I've always thought about this continuity of government, this continuance of continuity of government in some manner being an acknowledgement. And I think a lot of the way that we've talked about this year, Trump handling Congress, the mainstream media is starting to acknowledge that Trump seems to have no interest in working with Congress. He talks out of both sides of his mouth with Congress. The normie reading of that, and even a lot of the MAGA community, the reading of that is, well, Trump is, trying to redefine the powers of the president. Well, yeah, sure. I think that's a big part of it. But I think if Trump felt confident, if Trump as the representative of the people, as the tribune of the people, felt confident that Congress had been legitimately chosen by the people, do we think he would treat them the way he is treating them right now? Because that gets you into a bit of a bigger can of worms, right? If you don't go full John Drake and you just start talking about the three branches of government, the co-equal branches, the checks and balances, if Donald Trump believes Congress is legitimately elected, then he is basically disagreeing with the co-equal branches in how he is running things. That's a reasonable conversation to have. That might mean he's appealing to the unitary executive theory that I know you and Chris talk about more often. But that's one way of looking at it. The other way of looking at it is that he would treat them as a co-equal branch and would not feel the need to go around them if he felt that they were legitimately installed.
Yeah, I have a hard time believing that he actually thinks any of them are legitimately installed.
Yeah.
Because if he doesn't, then he's been lying to us about the election stuff that he hasn't stopped talking about since the very beginning. And this might be a good transition point to some of the election stories, because we've got some new ones. We know there's the election, the RICO investigation going on down in Florida. At least we're told that that is being brought into part of the all-encompassing RICO charges that are being brought down there. We don't know who or what or exactly they're looking at. But in addition to that, we were told that before leaving office, Tulsi Gabbard was going to be dropping an election fraud report. And it came out that Bill Pulte was going to be taking over for her on the 19th. Regardless, she was going to be putting that out before June 30th. That was the original, date that she was going to be done. It got moved up. I assumed that she would be dropping it before then. Then there's been some whispers in the back end that it wasn't necessarily her. And by whispers, I mean, I'm hearing that from some people, somebody that I believe to know what he's talking about. But he's saying it's more so the Presidential Intelligence Advisory Board than it is the DNI, which is notable. But anyway, that report is supposed to be coming out at some point. And speaking of that, the guy told me, I messaged him the other day. I said, hey, because he was supposed to go in on Monday to review things. But anyway, last Friday I messaged him, hey, what are you hearing about, when will you find out what's in this, because he's going in to review these documents. He said they're still lining things up, thousands of documents to go through. He was going in Monday to review. Isn't sure what that meant for the timeline of when they'd release it. Then I followed up with him yesterday. I said, hey, how'd that review go on Monday? And he said it'll be very narrow in focus, but very strong evidence. I think skeptics will have a hard time explaining it away. And then I asked, any idea when they'd be releasing it? And do you think it will be the impetus for any form of change? He says no and maybe. So I don't know. I still know I feel like it's kind of a limited hangout rug, but we'll see when we see. The very narrow focus is probably concerning, even though we believe there's lots of different methods that they do the cheating. But then on top of those two things, okay, so Florida RICO case and the whatever the DNI report, whatever that is, whenever that is. We also have this. There's a new White House task force, which is gathering intelligence documents on the 2020 election for declassification. It's declassification from the CIA, the NSA, the ODNI, the FBI, and the Justice Department. The task force, which operates in addition to ongoing Department of Justice probes into the 2020 election, consists of Just the News' John Solomon and former Trump admin officials, including the former National Security aide Derek Harvey. I find the Derek Harvey name to be far more interesting than the John Solomon name, considering his connection to Kash Patel, Ezra Cohen Watnick, the Hit List Squad, all of my Part 23. Very interesting, that name. But lawyers on the team have been reviewing gathered documents for months. The documents focus on areas including ballot irregularities, potential voting machine issues, and possibly other topics. Members of the task force have been encouraged to limit redactions in declassified documents, even if that means retaining the names of government officials or other individuals, according to two people with knowledge of the effort. And then today also Trump said that, Bill Pulte's only going to be there for a month or two, but he can declassify almost everything, whatever he wants. begs the question, why didn't Tulsi do that? Like, why is
Yep.
Trump having Bill do it, but Tulsi couldn't? Just a question. But yeah, so these multiple efforts going on around the election fraud exposure, how that ties into the devolution theory and series and everything. Like, it's just,
Yeah.
I don't know, lots there.
I totally agree with you that Derek Harvey is the very interesting name here in light of the research that you did years ago on it. But I think the Solomon name in concert with that name is notable. Obviously, a lot of the audience is Q people, Q followers. John Solomon is one of, I think, two reporters that people had a good opinion of who were named in the drops. Now, like, you can't make a conclusion. You can't draw a conclusion on that, but it's notable. It's just interesting.
Who's the other one?
The other one was Sarah Carter.
Oh, yeah. She works for the
who
admin
I don't
now.
see much anymore. What is she doing these days?
She works for the admin. I think she's like a drug
does she?
lord czar.
I didn't even know that. Yeah, Sarah, I believe, chat can correct me if I'm wrong, but in terms of people that chat, people that the truth community and MAGA enjoyed, it was Solomon and Carter that were specifically mentioned, I believe. Yeah.
She's a drug czarina.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And then I may be wrong in chat. You should let me know. I think there was one or two reporters kind of considered on the other side of things that were mentioned. I don't know if Maggie Haberman is one of them. I could be wrong about that. But either way, so
the worst.
Just as a table setter, Solomon, the reason people in the truth community knew John Solomon's name before he was very well known in this stuff. I know he's not a household name, but if you InfoWar at all, you know who John Solomon is. That was not the case when he was first named in the drops. The implication was that he was somebody who was receiving intelligence from people on Q team, right? Or involved in whatever operation, whatever military intelligence operation Donald Trump is a part of. The implication is that John Solomon and Sarah Carter were receiving direct intelligence. Separating all of that, whatever you do and don't think of the Q drops, Solomon has been operating as somebody that former members of the admin, the first admin, seem to maintain a direct line with. And Solomon obviously talks in that way. We've talked about that in good ways and bad ways, but starting, I think it was 2025, that's already flown by. He kind of resurfaced a lot of those original narratives, Russiagate, etc., from the first Trump admin. So Solomon is a guy that talks about having seen the evidence, which I think is a lot different than a lot of these reporters talk. A lot of these reporters are saying, I've got sources here, I've got sources there, I'm hearing this, I'm hearing that. Solomon's reporting is usually, I know what happened, and I know who knows what happened, and I think that's going to be coming at some point in time. So when I see his name in that report there, I'm not sitting here saying John Solomon has it all, and he's been holding it for 10 years. I don't think that's the case. I don't think that would even make sense from an operational perspective to have given all that information to somebody like that.
I think it could. I'll talk about that.
Well, that's one reading of it. But my reading of it, I think a more realistic reading of it in my eyes would be, this is a guy that those guys, the Derek Harveys, the Kash Patels, trust, that has earned their trust. And here's the other part of the theory. Solomon has been consistently reporting on this stuff for 10 years, right? Like the deep layer collusion stuff, the actual treason and insurgency that kicked off the Q drops, that kicked off the devolution operation. Whatever you think it kicked off that Trump has been doing, John Solomon's been talking about those subjects for 10 years. That itself, I think, comes with very valuable knowledge for the declassifiers in the admin. Because one of the ongoing sort of dialectics and conversations we've had since Badlands launched is, why are things being slow-rolled? Is it about controlling the narrative? Is there mandate cultivation? Like, we've all had a million theories on this stuff, right? But it would make some sense to me that you're not bringing a John Solomon in and saying that publicly because you're going to show him a bunch of stuff he doesn't know. I think it's more likely that you're going to start rolling stuff out, and he might be a guy that over the last 10 years, they're saying, hey man, you've been the one interfacing with like the real deep cut MAGA people that are reading your stuff for 10 years. Where do you think we should start with it in terms of telling the story? So it's just one way of looking at it.
Yeah, I think I actually tend to think more towards the first point you made about him already having a lot of this stuff. And normally I wouldn't think that way. John Solomon has been like one of the leading narrative setters, and he was really on point at the very beginning, like the first up until Charlie Kirk's death, I would say, when they were releasing documents at a pretty rapid space between, I think it was like about April and September. John Solomon was always there getting either early access to the documents or at least getting the heads up of when it would be coming out. And he was releasing all that stuff. He was working with Kash Patel. He was working with, I think, Chuck Grassley at the Senate, and they're the ones who put out the Durham classified report and all these other things. He was right there. But when it comes to like some of the other documents that we haven't necessarily seen a lot of, it gets much more interesting, because Solomon's been wrong about the timing of a lot of things since pretty much since Charlie Kirk passed away. He was like, oh, just a couple of weeks, Tulsi Gabbard's gonna be put out this stuff, and he was off by like order of months now. Every day that goes by, he gets off about the timing even more. But if you go back to the night before Biden was inaugurated on January 19th, 2021, Donald Trump issued that declassification of the Russiagate stuff. January 19th. It was that day, or that night, I guess, Mark Meadows went to John Solomon, or invited him in or whatever, and Solomon came in to review the binder stuff, and he took a whole bunch of stuff, the entire Russiagate binder, home with him and was making copies. And then one of Meadows' staffs, I think it was that Cassidy Hutchinson. Yes. Yeah. I think it was either her book or some interview she did where she like was telling the story. So maybe it's totally BS, but I think it is notable because, as I'll explain more in detail later, CNN did this whole story about this, and they're the only ones who did it. Anyway, Solomon gets a call from Meadows again, like, hey, there's a whole bunch of classified stuff in there. We need the binder back. And so they sent a Secret Service agent the next morning on the 20th to go and pick up the binder. And they're like, yeah, even they just picked it up in a Whole Foods bag and brought it back. And so Solomon had access to the Russiagate binder documents all night long on the night of the 19th. And he had the copier and everything set up as he tells it. For all we know, they copied every single thing in that Russiagate binder and then sent back the originals. And he's had access to it this whole time. What makes it even more interesting than that is once Biden's in there and Trump starts having this back and forth and all this BS going on with the National Archives and the classified documents case and everything, Trump names two people to be his representatives to NARA. One of them is Kash Patel. The other one is John Solomon. And even then, they still couldn't find this missing Russiagate binder. John Solomon is suing them for the binder. And then, as I said, there's this one article that came out. It's the only time anybody's ever talked about it. But CNN comes out, is like, yeah, so what happened to that missing Russiagate binder? John Solomon was like the last guy to have it. And now it's just gone. The FBI, the deal, like none of them can find it. And then all of a sudden, when Trump gets back in there and Kash Patel's in there, we're finding burn bags of classified documents littered all over the FBI. Like there's every floor has a couple broom closets with burn bags just sitting there. Like, is that true? And we've talked about this before. I think that's a stupid cover story for these guys having the documents the entire time. Because if the bad guys had stuff that they wanted to get rid of to the point of putting it in a burn bag, they would probably follow through with actually destroying it and burning it. It doesn't make sense that they would allow it to just sit there in a closet. It makes more sense to me that somebody like John Solomon, who had access to this stuff and was the last guy to have access to it, probably had it this whole time. And these are the stories that they're, using to release it. And so when we look at him being on this new task force, what other possible, election related things could he have had access to that Trump gave him access to? And now he's like bringing it right back in to declass some of this stuff. I don't know. That's just a reading of it.
I agree with basically all of that. I mean, I think there's a few different angles with it. The burn bag situation, translation layer is the way I would describe that. A vector, a vehicle for disclosure. Totally agree with that. And I think that's one of those, choice to know. The choice to know is yours refrain. Like it is so cartoonish and ridiculous, and I think it serves two purposes. Number one, if you've been following this stuff like a shit-eating wild man, like all of our audience for 10 years, then you're like, you didn't find that shit in the closet, and you didn't find the other shit 3 months later in the same closet.
Stop swearing so much, BB.
Sorry. I'm actually trying to work on. Did I just swear?
You swore twice, and then like 2 minutes into the show, you said the F word too, and I was like, dang it.
Did I?
Yeah, but I haven't sworn once, I don't think. Tonight
I really
did swear.
do have to work on it. I actually didn't intentionally swear, so that was just me going with. What did I even say?
I can't repeat it. It was that bad.
I have no idea that I just swore.
You said the S word.
Yeah.
S word
I said
twice,
what?
and that's not even that bad. But
Okay, fine, yeah.
we are making a commitment, guys. We've heard you. We
Yeah.
know that a lot of people are like, I would share your guys' stuff so much more if you would stop swearing. And they're like, it's mostly
I
BB.
get it. It is. I have to be able to swear sometimes.
You can.
Maybe we, you know, Trump does it. I'm going to do it. It's a part of just who I am. But maybe I'll try to keep that stuff with like only lands. Because I do get it. There was people that were like very earnest saying, hey, I do want to share your stuff. But there's certain people I'm not going to share that with. So, okay.
They don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that? Sometimes you need foul language to tell a great story.
I will leave
the children.
I get what you guys are saying. We want to make our content more shareable for you and your friends because how awesome we are and how awesome the community is. So nobody's been told that they actually cannot swear. You can still swear if you want to, BB, but we are trying to make an effort to be better about it.
Yeah, I don't
Better
consider
versions of
shit a
ourselves.
swear. So apparently that's what I've been saying.
That's fair.
We're
But
gonna
you
have
did
to,
say the
like,
F word earlier.
Figure that out. Yeah, I say the F word a lot. That's the one I got to work on.
Yeah.
And I also.
Fuck yeah!
You're
Makes
really
me think
making your
of-
point here.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, like, we've used it a lot, and I'm just pointing out how
Yeah.
bad we are. We're
Yeah.
trying to get out of our system. But no, we are actually making an earnest effort.
Right.
I will stop using those clips. I just didn't
And I
realize so
actually
many
have
bad.
retrained myself because my toddler is rapidly going to be learning how to say things. So I've been told this in my own house that I use that word way more than I think I do.
Yeah, you probably do. Yeah, when
So,
your kids start swearing, that's
Yeah.
my kid. I don't think my kids have said bad word. They think like the HE double hockey sticks is a bad word still. You know, it's probably because they go to Catholic school, so they're
Yeah.
like,
Right.
they're good, but they know of the word. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt with you. You
No,
just
that's okay.
wouldn't stop swearing. So
It was just a vulgar rampage. The burn bag situation, I was saying, on one angle, I think it's a translation layer. I think it's a choice to know will be yours kind of thing for the MAGA faithful, the truth community. The other angle is I do think there's like reverse narrative magic going on. That's a topic I need to probably dedicate a whole show to on the narrative, maybe a solo show, because I'm trying to figure out what I mean by it. I've been writing about this just in my notes for a long time. But, you know, Chris sometimes mentions like Kabbalah magic and Kabbalistic magic. And there's a real belief to this stuff in terms of the sort of dark powers of the world. They get something out of engineering narratives that provoke the public into certain beliefs and reactions. There's a practical nature to that. There's a practical mechanism for that and reason for doing that. Obvious reasons. Psyops. We've been talking about this for years. Psyops are used for a reason, right? But there's an energy reason. There's a belief system reason. In a lot of what Donald Trump and the people around him and a lot of the way they operate narratively, I think they are reversing some of that. Some of that, I think, is just purely, how do you untangle a psyop? Do you have to use psyops to untangle a psyop? You know, you have to fight fire with fire in some scenarios. But I do think when I look at the burn bags situation, I see some of it as like a humiliation ritual, sort of a way to amplify these narratives, to amplify the disclosures that are coming, while also provoking the enemies and saying, you know what we have, as you just referenced with that CNN article with the binder. You, the enemy, know what we have, and we are telling you that we have it and that we're going to release it. We're not going to tell you when, but we are going to disclose that we have this stuff in the most cartoonish, unbelievable manner possible in the media landscape, because I think it's provocative to them. And, you know, there might be some of this magic stuff here. But in terms of Solomon, I think it's also interesting that he isn't this household name. He's this guy that, you know, it makes me wonder if they're going to do this kind of bubble up disclosure and have him start releasing this stuff, going on Bannon, going on the things he's going on, seeing what the mainstream media is going to pick up and what they're not. You know, I just wonder how they're going to roll it out and why him. Maybe it's truly because he has like full breadth of knowledge on it that no other journalist has. And one more point on it that I'm interested in your take on, because I don't know if it would or wouldn't relate to devolution. But one of the refrains that we've talked about for a long time, whether you're cube drops or, you know, InfoWar, is military-civilian alliance. That's even something I think about with devolution. You know, we used to talk about how a lot of the figures from Trump 1.0, they went into the quote-unquote private sector, only to be put back in their positions. And we've kind of speculated on what that means. One of the other references in the drops and in this military intelligence stuff is the idea that there are certain communication vectors or approaches that are either unavailable to the Patriots or that are somehow legally dangerous for them. And I wonder if people like Solomon, like when it comes to devolution and national security laws, and I can't tell you what those would possibly be, but I wonder if part of the coming disclosure here, if a lot of it comes through journalists, is that they're reversing some of what the enemy has done for decades, where it's like the wrap-up smear. Hey, we didn't let that information out. This journalist got access to the information and let it out. Are patriots doing that in reverse to shield themselves? Because you got to think that one of the last-ditch efforts of the machine to protect itself, if we get the kind of RICO unroll and unraveling that we want, is you violated national security laws by putting this stuff out there and/or tainted the public jury pool and the public narrative about these kinds of things in the RICO investigation before all that stuff comes out. So is there any way they could be protecting themselves by bringing somebody like him in?
Okay, I have a lot to say in response to this because you said a lot.
Yeah.
I'm just going to write the word taint. I should remember what the word taint means when I get to it, but that'll be the last thing I talk about. Okay, earlier you said something about untangling a psyop with a psyop, and I understand the premise. We've talked about psyops in the show for a long time. I was one of the first people to talk about the fourth psyop group, by the way, in my article way back when, June of, I guess I don't know what month, but I believe it was 2022. My Devolution Part 22 talked all about the fourth psyop group and everything. I understand how psyops work. I understand the point, understand why, but I'm still of the belief, with all that said, that the best way to defeat a psyop is with the truth, like telling the people the truth. You don't have to like lie to somebody to defeat it, because that's essentially what a psyop is, right? It's typically like falsified or fabricated information used to get somebody to do something that they maybe otherwise wouldn't do, and sometimes it's just to get people apathetic to something else taking place. We've justified a lot of the BS stories we've been told for a long time from people we're told are good because we have to do them. Like the only way to defeat psyops is with psyops. I am not in agreement with that. I personally believe that we are adults here. We can handle the truth if they would just tell it to us, and them just saying and people excusing the way the behavior of like, oh, well, we can't handle the truth. People would end up in mental hospitals. If that's true, then we have, I think, bigger problems. Like, I do believe that the only way to defeat a psyop is with the truth. And I think we've proven that ourselves when the whole, speaking of the legal stuff, was going down a long time ago. When I put out that video with a whole bunch of facts and a whole bunch of like just Moabs of like, this is actually what's going on, guys. They can keep playing their little psyop games, but this is what's going on. It shut a lot of that up. Like you can't counter the truth with BS psyops typically. So that's point number one. The second thing I'm thinking about this, like you bring in John Solomon, and we've been talking about this election fraud exposure for a long time, and we want it, we need it. The thought that keeps going through my head is it even going to work or do anything? Because number one, if you want the election fraud exposure to be some sort of impetus for change, like it needs to, like, people need to be like, oh my God, I can't believe this. We need change. Like it needs to like spark something inside them. And the best place for people to be in for that to happen is like really upset with the status quo. And then like, oh my God, I can't believe this. Now we have a reason to like fix things, change things. And I don't know if we're there yet as a population. There are people that are like not happy with the way things are going, but I don't think they're gonna, I have a hard time believing that it's going to be the impetus for change in terms of like the public mandate. But maybe it gets him to a point of apathy for Trump to do whatever he's going to do. But what I'm saying is, like, I do not expect Congress to see what is ever in these documents or exposure or whatever we get, and that is like, okay, well, yeah, we better go pass the Save America Act and do all these things. I don't think Trump actually wants the Save America Act, number one. But number two, they will not, as the beneficiaries of the election fraud system, they're not going to be the ones to fix said system. makes no sense. It's got to be from another method. And I think we saw this week too, we can't also rely on SCOTUS from a couple of those rulings we got this week, even though a lot of people were looking to them to, the birthright citizenship and the mail-in ballot stuff, even though the mail-in ballots one was probably the right ruling. I could get that argument, but the birthright citizenship one was ridiculous. So I don't know. But that's a whole other discussion we can get into is, will the disclosure even work? Taint. Oh, yeah. So this is another thing. And somebody brought this up on one of my shows. Maybe it was yesterday or today. Whatever. We have this RICO case going on down in Florida, right? And we're told that part of this RICO investigation is election fraud stuff. It's going to span everything from 2016 all the way through them persecuting Trump and maybe even stuff from the 2024 election, maybe even stuff since then. Like, we don't know when the last, conspiratorial act was. But in the middle there is stuff related to the 2020 election, and we're expecting to see that stuff. So if Tulsi Gabbard's report or DNI's report, whoever's report it is, comes out and outlines a whole bunch of information, and if John Solomon's task force comes out and puts out a whole bunch of information, does that then mean that none of that information is or can be used in the grand juries that are going on down in Florida? Because that is the excuse we've gotten from a lot of people when other exposure stuff fell way short. Like, there were multiple times when like the Epstein one is a good one, even though I personally think that is a psyop against the Trump administration, or against Trump by people within his own administration and Con Inc. and a whole bunch of people. There were a lot of people that were like, well, of course they're not going to show anything real in here. That's still part of the RICO stuff. And that was the excuse they used when I would point out, like, yeah, there's nothing there, guys. There's no there. They're like, well, of course not. It's part of the RICO. Well, then does that mean there's going to be no there with the election stuff? And if that's the case, are we just going to then again say, well, that's because it's down in the RICO thing? I think that's something we need to be prepared for, because I feel like that's going to happen to a certain extent. And if there is a there, what does that mean about the RICO case? Like, there's two negative ways to look at that. So I think that's all the points I wanted to get to. I hope I explained those.
The last thing I asked was about if there could be any layer of potential shielding or protection by from our side of the equation using people like Solomon, but I
don't think so. I mean, if there was any like liability for the information getting out at all, it's not going to be fixed by just going through a journalist instead. And he's like part of some official government task force, so that takes away the government angle too.
It's all publicly disclosed.
Yeah, so I don't think that think that matters.
Yeah, I think that I agree with a lot of what you said. I mean, the untangling of psyops, I think, is fair, and I largely agree with it. One of my words of the year in relation to the geopolitical scene has been disentanglement, which Sergei Lavrov has been using a lot as well. But that's more what I think about when it comes to psyops, is Trump talking about and disclosing, hey, the enemy has been using illegal psychological warfare operations on you. It stands to reason that there is a means of disentangling psychological operations that might not involve lying, right? Like, so let's get that off the table, because we agree on that. That does not consist of just telling the truth. And I'm not arguing for this. I'm just saying that, like, it's like there's a diagnosis of a disease. And once you've got skin cancer, the diagnosis isn't like, don't go out in the sun as much. It's like, okay, well, but I already did. So the skin cancer is here. So now what is the approach? And that's kind of how I think of the psychological warfare, of saying, we acknowledge that if we were telling the truth the whole time, then this wouldn't have happened. Unfortunately, there's an insurgency that has been using extremely complex psychological warfare operations on the American people, and we need to undo the damage there. Obviously, even if whether we agree with it or not, there's a reason they haven't approached things in the way that a lot of us would have.
Yeah,
we've
I totally
been
agree
speculating
with all that.
about. Yeah, I know you're not arguing with it, but that's when I'm talking about how they're going to go forward from here. Like, I just wonder aloud what that looks like, and does Solomon have something to do with, they're bringing him in, they're disclosing that he's on this task force. Like, I think it's interesting that you reference like the almost dueling disclosure of, you've got DNI and Tulsi and she's now gone, and now you've got Solomon in there who was pumping her up. And
Trump's comments about like DNI, the DNI's office shouldn't even exist. Like, I hope Pulte fires everybody and they shouldn't even exist. That's notable. And Trump had a perfectly good former DNI that he could have brought back and put in there in John Ratcliffe.
John Ratcliffe,
and he
yep.
didn't. He put him at the CIA instead.
There was a recent article that I don't even think we talked about on a show because we had so much other crap going on. It was like a month ago, a Politico article. It wasn't even about John Ratcliffe. Damn it. I'm trying to think of what the headline was. And it said, it was probably in relation to Pulte.
I think it wasn't. That was like this one 2 weeks ago.
A couple weeks
Pulte's
ago.
new role is a win for CIA's John Ratcliffe.
That wasn't the article I'm thinking of, but it might have even juicier stuff. There was another article about Pulte that said, it was industry insiders, aka Intel assets, being interviewed by Politico, unnamed, of course, in the intelligence community. And the intelligence community, they were asking the intelligence community what they thought about Pulte, and buried at the bottom of that article, the intelligence source that they were quoting said, basically, they don't really care about what's going on with Pulte, and it said, John Ratcliffe is the one who has Trump's ear anyway. So he's the one that we pay attention to. So this might be a follow-up on that. But yeah, I thought it was interesting. I'll have to find it later and post it. But
I mean, this kind of talks about it. From the start of his administration, Trump turned to Ratcliffe, not Gabbard, when he needed the spy community's insight on major foreign policy priorities, including military operations in Iran and Venezuela. The president also turned to the CIA chief when it came to time to brief Congress about the Iran conflict, and as he began pushing lawmakers to renew a powerful spy authority called Section 702, even though Gabbard had a statutory role in overseeing it. Still, Gabbard created frequent headaches for Ratcliffe, often as the result of her efforts to root out perceived corruption in the intelligence community.
So, okay, I might have found it. This might be the one I was thinking of. I mean, that's probably even better, what you just shared. But this was the one that had caught my eye at the time. Let me see. It says, same source, Trump's intel pick delights MAGA, shocks the nation's spies. So they talk about some sources in here. But Brian O'Neill, a former CIA senior executive, said the practical impact of Pulte's appointment may be limited, especially as CIA Director John Ratcliffe appears to be the president's senior intelligence advisor. So, none of this shocks us, but it's just interesting that it's sort of the deep state media acknowledging what we talk about all the time and take a lot of heat for, and certainly that Chris talks about a lot of time and takes heat for, which is the TV characters thing, which is not always disparaging the characters, by the way, of just suggesting that declassification probably doesn't rely on Tulsi Gabbard, probably doesn't rely on Bill Pulte, probably doesn't rely on any of these people who have no experience with any of this stuff at all and have had nothing to do with any of this stuff and are basically public spokespeople. When the CIA is being sourced by one of its branches, being the media and Politico, they are saying, we don't really pay attention. It feels like the dumb media reacts, and the dumb deep state and the politicians, they react to what Trump is doing. Bill Pulte, Tulsi Gabbard, this person, that person. But the intel assets, aka the deep state, they don't react to any of that. They're wondering, they're like, I don't care what Bill Pulte's doing. What is John Ratcliffe doing?
Yeah.
I wonder, I bet this also holds with people like Christopher Miller, Kash Patel. There's probably these other names that they really are looking at, and they see, ironically, a lot of the stuff that I think we see, which is there's a public parade of what the administration is doing, and then there is what the administration is doing. And they know that Ratcliffe is a lot more connected to the latter than the former.
Yeah, great points. Totally agree. I am seeing some comments in the chat, and I think we should dig in a little further, not too deep. It's never good to go too deep, but just a little bit into the idea of using psyops to defeat psyops. Because again, I don't want people to get the wrong impression here. We both, I think you and I, we've both studied and talked about psyops a lot. I started my Devolution series 5 years ago. I started writing about psyops 4.5 years ago. Been reading and studying all those things. I know as much as I can about psyops, including from the executive orders about them. I've read military doctrine about them. I get it. I get why we use it.
We've been subjected to them on a micro level directly.
Yes. Yeah. I totally understand the use of psyops and why they're used in warfare and all those things. Totally get it. So that off the table, like without calling me stupid or not knowing enough, because that is not fair. I would wager I know more about psyops than the people making those comments in the chat, and actual like psychological warfare and miso operations and all those, the players and everything, from Chris Miller, Ezra Coleman, all those things. I know about as much as possibly can. That off the table, I think it's perfectly acceptable to demand not being subjected to them. Like, I think that demanding the truth is what our baseline should be. Like, allowing the justification of lies and psyops, even by the good guys, I think that's a failure. You can understand why they do it, but being okay with that, like, you don't have to do both things. And I feel like we justify so many things because it comes down to like the cheerleading aspect and the dooming and you know, the scale and where people fall on it. And for whatever reason, maybe it's because some people are victim to psyops. They have such a hard time calling out bad behavior, even by the people we like Trump himself. Love Trump. Like, the past 5 years of my life have been dedicated to supporting Trump's efforts. And it's been entirely built around, I have Trump stuff all over my house. Everything is Trump. Like, I'm in a weird way obsessed with Trump. You could say I'm obsessed with Trump, and a lot of cows too. That's kind of changed a little bit now that my girlfriend's moved in. Instead of my kids like doing the house decor, my girlfriend does. So it's a little less cow. They're still here, just not quite as prevalent. But anyway, all that aside, like, fully support Trump. I would much rather him not lie to me about anything. And if I think he is, I'm going to point that out and be like, hey, do better. You know, not that he listens to us or whatever. But you understand my point here is the fact that we're in this position right now of we have been victim to psyops for decades, and it's put us in this terrible position. Maybe the approach isn't to just be okay with more psyops, but the other direction. Maybe the approach is to demand accountability and honesty and truth from these powerful people at all times, because maybe that's the way out. Because clearly the last 10 years, if we've been doing these psyops back at them, things still suck right now. Like, we're no closer, as far as I'm aware, to any sort of accountability or justice or fixing of the election system or fixing of the debt or fixing of the fraud and all this shit. Like, dang, I swore. Didn't mean to do that. It's hard not to when you're getting passionate.
Damn, man. That's messed up.
The point being is, why not demand that approach? Even though it shouldn't make me sound stupid to say I want the truth while understanding why the psyops are being done. I don't know. I don't like how people, I don't appreciate how people equate those two things. Because if anything, me knowing as much as I do about psyops and psychological warfare and why they're done and how they're done and all that stuff, and still yet demanding honesty and accountability and the truth, maybe that should carry more weight. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I would say that whether people are always consciously aware of it or not, I made a similar point, I think, on Sunday on my closing panel at GART. That is, there's something to the fact that the people who come to GART obviously is a smaller audience than the people watching this show right now. But either way, if you're in the chat, if you're watching the show, like, you didn't find us by accident. Maybe you think you did. Maybe you found John, maybe you found X22 report, maybe you found the Q drops and it led you to something, maybe you found Donald Trump and it led you to John Solomon. Like, whatever the pathway is, to know that an info war exists and to know that a truth community exists, even if it's been a bit balkanized in the last few years, there has to be conscious, directed effort. You don't get, whether you're right or wrong as an anon, as an info warrior, you're by definition not a passive observer of narrative. If you have found your way into these kinds of things, you have to select these kinds of shows, articles, researchers, all that, right? You've got to dig on your own. And that in and of itself, when some of those people are saying we need the psyops to continue, in so many words, I find that approach not just immoral, like you said, basically, but I find it to be also contradictory. Because as I said at GART, if people actually believed in full control to the degree that some people do, they would not show up to a GART, they would not watch these shows, they would not get involved in chat, they would not have done their own research, they would not have tried to figure all this stuff out, they would not have talked to normies about it, right? Because it implies it's all going to happen anyway. The only motivation for then talking about this stuff or researching this stuff or watching other people who do this stuff and talking to your friends and family about it would be to gloat over what you already know is going to happen in the future. There's certainly some people that do that, I think. That's probably some motivation. I think it's much more likely that people acknowledge that we have some role to play here. We have some part to play in the disentangling of those psyops. So I agree with you, and while I reference a Watchmen quote pretty often, but I think it works perfectly in this situation. At the end of Watchmen, you've got like 3 ideologies right there. You've got the guy who runs psyops so hard to free the mind of humanity in Ozymandias that he becomes the villain. He becomes the very thing they were trying to stop. You have the guy in Rorschach who is a moral absolutist who says to the death, even in the face of Armageddon, never compromise. He is the moral and truth absolutist, the moral center of the movie. Then you have kind of a guy in the middle, Dr. Manhattan, who in the context of the film is literally omnipotent. He knows everything. He knows everything at once. He can see the past and future simultaneously. He's like the ultimate, everybody checks themselves against him. And both the villain and the hero check themselves against Dr. Manhattan and say, do you understand why I lied to the people in order to bring them into a better future? And he says, without condemning or condoning, I understand. I understand why you did it. But the film ends with Rorschach, because the right answer, not the correct answer, the right answer is Rorschach's answer. And, you know, I try to content myself with that, of saying, there is a world here where the Patriots, the AI modules they have, the Q operation, the less than 10, the skiff meetings for 10 years, or going back to 1987, they know 10, stuff. Yeah. They, what?
I said less than 10,000 now. It's
less
grown.
than 10,000. Right, because I think Anna Paulina Luna's in there, and, you know, she brought all her friends. But
Jesse Waters.
They know, the Patriots, the people involved in actual military intelligence operations that are related to all this stuff we've been talking about for 10 years. They know information. They have gamed out scenarios that we are 10 steps away from even thinking of. But when I say that, it's not how most people say that in this space, and it annoys you and it annoys me. It's not me outsourcing my faith to other people and saying, I assume they know things I don't know, so I'm going to outsource my morality and control over my mind to these people. I can understand that. I'm not going to condemn it, but I'm not going to condone it. But what's our job? What's our job as Americans? What's our job as sovereigns or as truthers or as info warriors, which everyone in this chat and everyone watching this show considers themselves? Your job, even if you think the Patriots have withheld things for good reasons, is to demand that they stop. That is the moral right answer. And I ultimately think that there is an element of moral, of mandate cultivation that I've been talking about for years. And I do think communities like this can actually influence the direction of where these things go.
I agree.
So, you know, and that kind of bridges the gap between Rorschach and Dr. Manhattan of saying, hey, we can understand why you guys kept this stuff from us up until now. Maybe there's certain scenarios you gamed out, but it's enough. And so we just got to keep continuing to do that. And for the people that demonize people who call for the truth and transparency and say we haven't gotten it yet, I would say that you literally might be holding back the plan that you are trying to defend.
Yeah. And I think the excuses that we give too, because again, like I'm still seeing comments, even a couple of rants from Alpha come through, like explaining to us, because we're just too stupid to understand why psyops might be used right now. Again, totally understand everything you're saying, Alpha. We'll read the rants at the end, but that doesn't mean we have to be okay with it. And if you are, that's fine. That is you. I am not okay with it. I understand all the justifications, and Alpha, no, I've probably read more on this topic than you have. I get it. Maybe I don't talk about that enough. Maybe I need to do an entire show dedicated to the ins and outs of how psyops work, because we could. But again, that doesn't mean I have to be okay with it. I want the truth. That's what we've built our platform around here, is demanding the truth and accountability, and there's no reason to change that. I'm not going to change it anyway. I think we keep demanding the truth. We do need to get to another sponsor before I forget. And then if you want, we can keep having this conversation. Or, yes, it is 11, and I do have guests here. We'll see. If there's anything else you wanted to really... What else were we going to get into? Do you remember?
I don't know if you want to talk about the birthright citizenship thing or the Supreme Court or anything like that. There's also... Or just in the context of Congress and the Supreme Court, I think the unitary executive theory is back in the news, and that's kind of interesting. But
yeah, we could
otherwise,
get into
there's
that.
a tidbit. We gotta hit a tidbit on Machado.
We could do let's do the Machado tidbit, and I got to play the clip from the Badlands. Well, I'll just do that right now while I got it up. This is Trump today from the Badlands. You know, last time he was in the Badlands was before, I think it was our second GART, Cocoa Beach maybe, and he's like, Badlands.
So
that's a hell of a name, right? And we've used that in our intros for a while now.
It was right before we went live on DPH.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Which was fun.
And now we got this. Oh, hold on. I'll turn this up.
Badlands. They go with the Badlands. They said, what's that all about? It's pretty cool. Pretty cool name, I have to tell you.
Pretty cool name, I have to tell you.
What's that all about?
I totally agree, Mr. President. All right,
we don't
real
know.
quick.
We haven't figured it out yet, Mr. Trump. we're 4 years in, and we're not quite sure what Badlands is, but that might just be what's great about it.
That's okay. Real quick, CB Distillery. I believe they're having a big summer sale going on here. Summer's here. It's time to relax and hit the refresh. But if stress, sleepless nights, and sore muscles are getting in the way, CB Distillery has got you covered. CB Distillery's 4th of July sale is on, and you can save up to 50% site-wide with code RUMBLE. I'm a big fan of their the sleep gummies and the or the not the which one's this? There's the sleep one, and then there's the focus one. Absolutely love those things.
I think instead of there's like an one.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
CB Distillery's got plant-based solutions for just about everything. Better sleep, relaxation, mood and focus, even pain after exercise. It's all made with premium hemp grown right here in the U.S. No fillers or artificial ingredients. That's why over 2 million people trust CB Distillery. The 4th of July sale is a perfect time to stock up and save up to 50%. It's a huge savings, guys. 50% with code RUMBLE. If you haven't tried CBD, there's no better time. Visit cbdistillery.com. Use promo code RUMBLE. cbdistillery.com, promo code RUMBLE. Specific product availability depends on individual state regulations.
So I think this is hilarious because Alpha, and I mean this in jest, it's funny, and I think it's illustrative. He's in the main chat and just mentioned this is the, he mentioned, we'll read his rants, obviously, but related to it, he said, this is the Nicholson... Where the F is it? I just responded to it. He said, you don't have to be okay with it, but the military will deploy it. This is the Jack Nicholson, you need me on that wall moral dilemma from A Few Good Men. Chris and I did that movie like 6 months ago. Now, the funny thing about this, which is why it's not a conversation we're going to win. It's not an argument we're going to win. And it's good to have the argument. Like, I would say that. I think it's good for people to watch the argument play out as often as it needs to play out, including among Badlanders on stage with each other. Right? Yeah. Because it's good to have that argument, just like I always think of the ending of Watchmen that I mentioned, because they are arguing, like the quote-unquote good guys are in a room, arguing about it to the point where one of them dies as a result of the argument for what he believes in, after formerly being on the same team. So the irony of Alpha saying that this is the Jack Nicholson, you need me on that wall refrain, is I would say you are 100% right. It is that. And who you are in that movie is who you are in the InfoWar. And I would agree with you that some men, Alpha is obviously one of them, would appeal to Jack Nicholson's argument in A Few Good Men. I would not. I would say he is the villain of that movie. Literally the villain of it. Now, the best villains in film writing, or in any writing, are villains whose justifications you can not only understand cognitively, but you can rationalize morally. And I do think that he's such a great character because you absolutely can morally rationalize what he's doing.
Yeah.
He has made, in the context of the film, he truly does love his country and he truly does want what's best for his country. That's why these conversations and these arguments are so difficult. Because it's usually not people just saying, shut up, pleb, people are going to lie to you, get over it, trust the plan. There's obviously some people who do that and they're insufferable. Arguments like this, I think it's actually illuminating for me that Alpha chose that analog because it allows me to understand a little bit more where he is coming from. from this perspective, and it's not the shut up and trust the plan refrain.
Yeah.
This is the moral framing of people need to do hard things to defend people, right? We could go on and on about this. But the other side of that equation, the moral point in that movie, which obviously some disagree with, is that he's wrong. And that ultimately, when you silo things to that point, you end up creating the very more immorality structure and system that you are trying to defend. That you are trying to defend against. Now, obviously, like Alpha, and I mean this sincerely, with all the movies I watch and books I read, etc. Sometimes I do agree with the villain in a movie. You know, sometimes even the writer's intent, I'm like, well, I don't agree with your intent. I'm just telling you that the argument in A Few Good Men is decidedly against Jack Nicholson from a moral framing. So, and it is the perfect analog for this psyops versus psyops argument. So I would just say, yeah, I'm not on his side in that. Alpha is on his side in that. And I think that tells you a lot about what you do and don't want the U.S. military to be doing on your behalf.
Yeah, I just hate how this argument actually comes down to it's like I feel like we're trying to argue the morality of it, right? And I feel like we do that a lot. But then when the other side is arguing back to us, they're not arguing the morality of it. They're treating us like we're stupid. That's what I don't like.
It's the practicality of it.
Yeah, it's like, well, you just don't understand. You need to do this thing, or this is why they're doing it, or all these like.
Right.
Again, I understand all those arguments. I've heard every one of these arguments before. I've heard every one of these justifications before. I still don't agree with it, and I still don't agree with the morality of it. And I still understand, even though I disagree with the morality of it, I still understand why they're doing it, and that it's probably not going to change. It just doesn't change my mindset of it. Like I share the mindset that Alpha has and get why they're doing it. I'm just not okay with it. And I'm never willing to say that I'm okay with it, even though I understand it. Like psychological warfare is going to be the warfare of the future for probably, it's going to be more prominent than overt warfare. And it's been more prominent than overt warfare for a long time, unless we get to the point where, you know, G Money talks about the G-topia and the Bitcoin energy warfare and all that stuff. Like psychological warfare is going to be the most prominent form of warfare that you're going to experience, and you come in contact with it on a daily basis. Every interaction you have online, for the most part, which is another reason GARTs are so awesome, is because you actually get to see people face to face, interact with people personally. All your online interactions are mostly psychological warfare operations being used against you. Doesn't mean you have to be okay with it.
Yeah, and I mean,
see, right, like with this comment right here, morally you are 100% correct. In the mindset to win, you are 99% wrong.
That's okay. But that's okay.
I also disagree.
I disagree too. I don't think you have to be immoral to win. But I would also say that, again, maybe we should end the show. And when we end the show, I want to play that clip from the Watchmen, because I think it perfectly sums up this. We could get off of YouTube, and
we should also have Alpha on sometime to talk about this.
Mm-hmm. No, it's a good conversation. The best ones are the ones where it's like, I know he's very earnest in his view, and we're earnest in our opposing view here. The funny thing, again, about a lot of his rants tonight and quotes tonight is that I agree that there is a scenario in which doing the thing I find to be immoral, leads to a victory or to more chance of a victory. But the entire point of this moral argument, which literally goes back to the founding of the country, is what are you sacrificing and what are you winning? Right? There's a lot of founders. I mean, Ghost named himself after Patrick Henry, who's probably the most infamous. But there were others. There was a Sam Adams who ended up compromising a bit, Thomas Jefferson. But there's a reason those are the GOATs. And Patrick Henry was disgusted by what the other founders did. Mm-hmm. And this is the funny thing. This is why it's healthy to, I mean, this weekend, above everything else, we should be revisiting some of these things. Yeah. I think the biggest mistake we've made as Americans, I'm going to talk about this on the Narrative Sunday night with Zach. One of the biggest mistakes I think we've made as Americans is not just this retroactive lionization of the founding fathers, but this unification, this illusion of consensus that we have retroactively placed upon them when no such consensus existed. They were founding fathers that Alpha would quote, and probably does quote often, and believes in many of the things they said, that were diametrically opposed to what the other founders did, and diametrically opposed to the system of government that they ended up founding. This wasn't a consensus. And we're dealing with that right now. I'm not calling us founding fathers, but this community, the arguments we're having, we're dealing with that right now. And I would say that Patrick Henry was probably the best example in the founding of a moral absolutist. He acknowledged that there were pragmatic arguments to be had about whether or not a moral absolutist framework would work practically. But he was willing to literally die on the hill that if we don't endeavor to have a moral absolutist nation, then what's the point of trying to found a moral system in the first place? And that's exactly this argument. So when you're saying, hey, there's a potential where your mindset of truth above all else somehow, compromises the operate, let's just, for the sake of argument, say that that's true. I'm still okay with leading a moral absolutist framework forward, which I think a lot of Badlands is doing, and being wrong about that being the mechanism that ultimately, sees a lot of this stuff through. We don't all have to be, we can have the same mission of wanting to make things better, but not have the same tactics and strategy of how we get there. And that's certainly not what we had at the founding of this nation. And it's certainly not what we need in the truth community. The last point is that the last thing we need, in my opinion, in the truth community is consensus. It's the last thing we need.
Yeah. But that's the one thing when you don't offer people, when you offer people anything other than consensus, you get a lot of people who push you away and get upset at you for that. It's where communities get fractured, honestly. People can't handle, not being affirmed of their beliefs or their decodes or their ideas. But I will say this too. We'll end on this, and we'll look to get Alpha on the show sometime to talk about this specifically. Also, there's a great comment in the chat topic. At what point is the cost of winning too high? We should write that down and
that's basically what I'm
talking about. And put that, save that. But all the people making the argument that like we need to do this, we have to do this in order to win, like. You can't be 100% moral while also winning this war. You have to, do immoral things. I get it, but have we really tried the other way around? Have we actually tried successfully to be 100% moral? Have we seen anybody or witnessed anybody operating as close to moral absolutism as possible while following all the way through to a victory? I don't know if we have. I don't know if that's ever been witnessed before.
The closest, and then this, we could have a whole show on this, but the closest, because I find myself arguing this against Trump sometimes. And, it is so funny, even with everything we've talked about tonight, when it comes to declassification, the truth, etc. I mentioned one of my favorite refrains. Sometimes it's the little things that when I read the drops that really stuck with me. And they were more principles rather than decodes or truths or anything like that. And one of them is what I referenced earlier in the show, the choice to know. And for me, besides drops, besides devolution, besides executive orders and all this stuff, Donald Trump really is that signal in the noise. As much as he's the one telling us about psyops, and maybe he's a part of psyops.
Oh, he's doing psyops all the time. He's a walking
psyop. But he also has told us the truth. It's just funny because it hasn't come in the form of like, here's all these documents and here's the court case laying it all out. But remember, Donald Trump is the one who told us the election was stolen. Donald Trump is the one who's been telling us that there aren't real elections. Donald Trump's the one who's been telling us that there's a deep state in the first place, that the news is fake. Like, he's the one who's been saying all of this. So he does play it both ways and he goes back and forth, but he really does. Like that, I think, even subconsciously, to your point about have we ever seen it done as a system? No, I don't think we have. But have we ever seen, just a leader come out and just say the thing? And I think even subconsciously, it truly is one of the real appeals of how Trump attracted people like me who were diametrically opposed to the whole conservative movement and everything. The only other guy, and I wasn't alive during the time, so maybe in context it was different, but I have a lot of affinity for John F. Kennedy. And think that, especially, there's a reason a lot of his speeches have survived to today, because he's getting up there and saying, ironically, I referenced this at GART, actually was on a panel with Alpha and Josh, and we had a version of this conversation. And I brought up the secrecy quote from JFK. The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society, and we as a people are inherently opposed to secret oaths and secret proceedings. Now, Alpha didn't fully agree with that quote, which is okay. John F. Kennedy is not God. But I would argue that there is a reason that quote, among many others, has survived for 60 years in the American zeitgeist in a bipartisan manner, because there is a desire at the heart of Americans to see if what you just asked is possible. We need to see if it's possible. And the only way to see if it's possible is to do it and to try it.
Yeah. But yeah, we're going to have more of this conversation coming up because I think, as you said earlier, alluded to earlier, with the time of year it is, the nation's 250th, I think having a lot of the moral discussions and how we fix this thing, how we right this ship and make sure we do it the right way and don't turn into the evil we're fighting, those type of things. We're going to be having more of these conversations. So,
That's great.
Yeah.
You are fired, Alpha, by the way.
What?
Alpha's fired. He's afraid he's fired. He is. Didn't want to tell him on air, but
we talked about we had another one of our team meetings this weekend. But before Gart, which I love doing that because we let some friction out at those things. Like there were a couple conversations that got pretty heated, but I love it because we have a good group where we're able to have those conversations where things get heated, people disagree with each other, people call each other out, and we still walk away as friends, or at least pretending to be friends. But I was thinking about that. Like one of the questions that got brought up is, is there punishment or is the reward and punishment or, for good behavior, bad behavior and all that stuff. And in like thinking about the years of Badlands, the only time I've ever actually fired people or anybody was for the coup that was formed. But nobody's ever been fired for disagreeing or, arguments we've had or anything like that.
In fact, the only time that you've ever reprimanded, so you talked about firing, but then the only time you've ever reprimanded people that has caused them to leave the company is when they have tried to stop other Badlanders from talking about things they find to be important.
Yeah.
Which Alpha has never done. I'm not referencing Alpha.
No.
I'm referencing others. There have been times when people have said, you should not have this person on the shows or at this company because they're saying things that are going to lead our audience in the wrong direction, which, by the way, is also a good conversation that I think Alpha brought up on that panel. I don't know if it was that panel or another one I was on with him at Gart Deadwood, was the hero complex that the InfoWar can give you. It can give us, it can give people in chat, it can give Q followers. It really can. It's a great thing to think about. And he was talking about that with himself, of saying, like, I've got a following, I was a military guy, like I'm in the Great Awakening. Can this stuff give you a hero complex where you think you're part of something? And I think we are part of something. But you got to check that at times.
Yeah.
And there's other people in the InfoWar that, including that have been at Badlands before, that clearly, even though we know that we have influence over people, that's not how we walk around every day thinking about. We just have to operate based on what we think is right and wrong. And you guys have to decide, based on what you feel about these conversations, what you think about it. But as soon as we start thinking that we're controlling what you're thinking, and we're trying to consciously influence what you're thinking, I think that's when we've gone off the wrong path.
Yeah.
And people within Badlands in the past have tried to suppress the speech of others by going to John and appealing to him. And then when that doesn't work, because it never has, shaming those people publicly.
Let's not go too down for that. But
tonight's a good example. Alpha wasn't on the show, but we kind of had one of those tonight, which I think is good.
And we're going to have him on again. And this is why what you said there, the whole point of what I think we've built here is to have the conversations that nobody's willing to have, and to be able to like freely talk about all sorts of different ideas without judgment, but with the disagreement. The highly frictional, there's a reason we talk about that, and we specifically like push that word. We want to be highly frictional because somebody in the chat said it. It's very unique what we have here, because there aren't many places on the internet where there is honest and earnest disagreement and debate about topics where, people don't get like pissed off to the point of actually leaving. Like you'll see CNN, they bring on their token Republican and whatever, and they'll make a counterpoint, but that's all stupid. Like there are honestly people who disagree completely about a single topic, and nobody will get offended. I love that. So I love the disagreement, because I think that is where, when you disagree, the best idea will win. Sometimes you can't figure out who's the best idea, but that is how you actually move forward. I think that is what the founders intended, and we've come so far astray from those kinds of conversations. It's really what's siloed us in the society too, because you have so many people who are like, you're put into camps. You have Republicans on one side and Democrats on the other side, and because of that, you have to hate each other. It shouldn't be like that. You should still be able to be friends with people who have different ideologies. You should be able to have these kind of discussions when you disagree with people on certain topics, and it doesn't have to like devolve into name calling and just BS. Like we should be able to have those conversations on a day-to-day basis, and that's what we're trying to re-inspire here at Badlands.
Well, to that point, I referenced earlier and I referenced after Nashville, it nails the point that I'm making about the demeanor of the Badlands, including the audience that I've been noting in 2026. And that is that it's not that I got off the stage in Nashville and in Deadwood or observed, like, for example, there was a big frictional argument between Chris Paul and Alpha in Nashville. And it's not like we got off the stage or they got off the stage and I was sitting at a table having lunch with like 10 Badlanders after that. And it wasn't frictional at all at that table, but it wasn't because there was consensus there. In fact, the majority of that table that I was at agreed with Alpha. It was like, 6-4 or something. And then they just started asking me why I agreed with Chris in that argument. And it was just like a good back and forth where 2 years before that, that same argument would have happened at a GART, but with emotional rhetoric. There were people leaving in Myrtle Beach. There were people leaving the room because they were so upset the argument was being had. And I don't think that one was like, G and Ash. But either way, that is why I think the demeanor, like the people who want to have that kind of friction and want to have this earnest engagement of ideas. The other thing, to your point about the token, the token conservative, the token liberal, that's another unique thing about the arguments that happen in the Badlands, is that we all basically have the same end game in mind, but we are having serious disagreements about how to get there. Whereas when you're seeing those you have the token liberal on Fox, you have the token Republican on CNN, those people on the panels have completely different visions for the future of the country. And that's that cartoonish controlled opposition dynamic argument. I think Badlands is unique because you get 4 people on stage or on a show that generally want the country to go in the same direction, but completely disagree with each other on how that's going to happen.
Yeah. Getting some interesting comments on YouTube. Interesting show, unusual episode. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
I'd say it's good.
Yeah.
I'd rather that than usual episode.
Yeah. I thought it was a good episode.
Yeah.
Good conversation. I am ready to probably get into the rants and stuff and call it a night, though. We can save the other stories for another night.
Damn straight. By the way, guys.
Don't you dare go into another topic right now.
No. I'm promoting. I'm shilling.
Okay, perfect.
Go to badlands.substack.com. Subscribe to the Badlands Substack. Myself, Ash, and Ghost run that. This week, instead of a Badlands Blitz airing on Saturday, exclusive to the Substack subscribers, it's going to be airing on July 4th. It's coming out on Friday. We're going to record that tomorrow. It's a sprint. People don't believe I'm doing hour-long shows, but it's been good practice.
It is hard to believe.
They are hour-long shows, roughly.
We did the camera stuff at GART. Like we had Jordan say they're recording interviews or little blurbs of all the hosts, like getting asked questions. Well, who's your favorite, whatever, who's your favorite this? So like, where would you be 5 years from now if this didn't happen, whatever. And one of the questions was, who speaks the most or talks the longest on Badlands? And everybody said BB, but then every single person I've talked to since doing those has been like, I would like to amend my answer to Josh. Yep. Josh doesn't shut up.
Which is why we can't fire Josh, because this is great for me. And yeah. I need this.
Yeah.
He pushes the outer edge and I just go right up to it. I'm like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah. But you do talk a lot as well.
That's true.
It's both, whatever, but it was good stuff. But anyway, what were you saying about the Blitz?
Badlands.substack.com. This week it comes out on Friday morning. Watch it through the weekend. Do whatever you want, but and support us over there if you want to. That helps us out. It's a great
little show you guys got going on. But I will say a lot of people rave about the Badlands Blitz, and you can get access to it just by getting a free subscription, or you can choose to support if you'd like, but a free subscription over on the Substack. We appreciate that. How about we get to the Badlands boost? By the way, a little birdie told me I think we're going to be releasing our Vegas tickets right after July 4th. We're going to let you guys get through July 4th, and then we'll be putting those out there. Boosts, we have a few, and we had a few from over the weekend from some folks while we were down in Deadwood who gifted to the whole company. AJC, he wasn't there, but we love AJC, and hopefully he'll be in Vegas. It's a little closer to him. He's the man. Yeah, he says for the whole company, thank you, Chris Musgraves, for $100. He also said for $100, excellent day 2, kenosis and the born again mind, powerful. Thank you, Badlands Goblin. That was a great panel. We had a lot of great panels, but that one was a really good one too. I agree. And then he also says for $100, another one, great guard. Thank you, Badlands. Always pushing forward, always outside the gates. We appreciate the support, AJC. Great to see you, man. And then we have 1027 JS, my fellow North Dakotan, for $20 says thanks. Good to see you, 1027 JS. And boy, we got a bunch of random rants here. Let's go through these. We had Snowcat Operator gifting a sub, Final Demand gifting 5 subs, 12 Indie Boy gifting 10 subs. And then, so thank you to everybody who gifted subscriptions. Truly helps. We appreciate it. Makanon says Ghost was channeling his inner Marty McFly. Probably talking about the...
That was crazy. I mean, it was like beat for beat. Same outfit, same everything.
Was pretty nuts.
That's why I thought it was intentional at first, but it wasn't.
It was unironically unintentional. Is that a thing? Does that make sense at all? I don't know if that does.
Unironically, yeah. Mm.
Whatever.
Yeah, I don't know.
That should be on a shirt, though, I think, anyway. Unironically unintentional. I feel like that's good branding. Tattoo Teacher says, at Gizmo's mom, that's right. Teddy was a Long Islander, just saying. Teddy Roosevelt. But he was not going to be president until he went to the Badlands. The Badlands are his formative years. That's what he talks about. Alpha Warrior Show rated the stream. We appreciate that. And he left a bunch of rants in here, so we'll replay those. Keith O'Higgins, rest in peace, Victor Willis, the lead singer of the Village People. He and his music touched so many people. He even inspired a young Alfredo Luna to grow up and be a gay cop.
I love the swerve that took.
That was great.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
I'm sure they did touch a lot of people.
Yeah, and speaking of that, we got Alpha Warrior Show. Sarah Carter is good people. Hey, fam, swinging by to say hello. And he said much more than hello here. He goes, no obligation to show, but cool video on Solomon's story tied in with some Nunez. It's over 4 minutes, but very cool. I will check that out. By the way, I did learn this weekend that Alpha says trust, like truss. Like ceiling truss.
Yeah.
Just thought I'd throw that out there. Just like you said,
you don't pronounce the G at the end of ing words.
Yeah, but that's I know that I don't pronounce things right. So when I can find other people to pick on for them not pronouncing things right, it takes more of those arrows off of me
those
and
slings
puts
and
on
arrows. Yeah, like when you say evening, you say evening, nin.
Good evening,
like
everybody.
Neen.
Well, sometimes I say ing.
Evening. Yeah, it's strange. Good evening.
That's what I say, or that's what you're supposed to say?
That's what you say.
Good evening.
Yeah, you're not saying the G at the end.
Okay, so how do you say good evening?
Just evening. Just let it go a little.
What you just said there is no different than how I say it.
No.
Yeah.
There's a difference. Chad knows. Chad will say. I pronounce the F word perfectly, though.
Yeah, we know.
I've had a lot of practice.
Yeah. Darlene McCassell says Catherine Herridge was mentioned several times on the board, too.
I believe
follow that
most of
pen,
the
right?
Follow the pen references seem to be.
Yeah.
Herridge.
Pen 15. Angie K, I may have missed it, but did you all see where Trump told the media today that he gave Pulte the ability to release and declass anything he wants? Yep. We did talk about that. Did you have the video, by the way, that we're going to play? The clip? We just have to get
Watchmen?
off YouTube before we do. Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
Okay, Alpha Warrior Show, truth alone doesn't work because truth is incorporated in the Psyop. Good or bad, facts alone aren't enough. You need truth delivered with psychological precision. Truth is key, but you need strategy. And then again, truth does not automatically defeat conditioning. Maybe, maybe not. Sometimes I could argue it does. We're going to have you on the show at some point, Alpha. We're going to discuss this. 12 Indie Boy, who's just over there. So, I mean, he could just walk in here and give me $5.
He could be right behind you, and we wouldn't even know.
Well, that's because he's so short. He doesn't cover the height of the chair. But yeah, you're right. He could be. He says, the truth is the only thing that defeats the conditioning or programming they did to all of us. I just want the truth. And I'm with you there. The Alpha Warrior Show, you don't have to be okay with it, but the military will deploy it. This is the Jack Nicholson, you need me on the wall moral dilemma. Again, we've talked about all this.
Pretty soundly smoked that argument.
Yeah. Guilty as charged, says Alpha. BBI was on his side. And then morally, you're 100% correct. In the mindset to win, you are 99% wrong. Maybe.
So Alpha basically called me Tom Cruise there, and I am actually taller than him. It's a big point of pride for me.
Probably barely. Isn't he like 4 feet tall?
He's like 5'6" or something, but they always film him at angles to make him look bigger.
Duffy's Tavern left a few of them here in a row, so I'm going to read these in order. Some of the most supportive voices I've had for the last years have been from people. Excuse me, I hit a wall all of a sudden. I'm sorry. I've been from people in their 90s. They've told me stories that bring me back to people they knew and learned from. When they listen and we talk, they add so much perspective. They have a mixture of Great Depression knowledge with World War II and everything else. Trust but verify was not something Reagan came up with. It came from him understanding the sentiment of those people. A world where Americans are accountable for their own actions. We can take a lesson from those Americans of generations before and try to always attempt to speak with truth and honesty as they have. I've found most of those older Americans are not shocked by swearing, but the lack of attempt to use articulate words is just an insult to their gift of time that they give listening. I like that.
What if you use a lot of big words and swear a lot? Because I think I'm relatively unique in doing that.
Maybe. Alpha Warrior Show says, but I love that rant, Duffy's Tavern.
Yeah.
I like that. That was good. Alpha Warrior Show says, I love you guys. Don't order a code red on me. We need 97% of the good guys with your mentality. The other 3% will sacrifice and pray for mercy with God. But we do need men with your position.
I would just say, Alpha, you should think of this when you're lying awake tonight, pretending to sleep. It could be that those 3% are not the good guys.
Could be.
He frames it as 97% of the good guys and then 3% of the good guys. But one needs to always think about whether or not one is the good guys.
That is a great point. Also, what if allowing the 3% to do that stuff or operate that way is what's holding us back? What if?
Could be.
Because I feel like 97% of the good guys with my mentality, I say out of those, like 5% of them are like, actually echoing that sentiment. The rest of them are just like, okay, but those 3% need to do that, so we'll just allow them to do that, whatever. But if 97% of those people were like actually voicing the, hey, stop lying to me, let's be a little more moral here, maybe things would be done differently. I don't know. Anyway,
we could settle this with an exhibition boxing match. I think with finality. And I think we could also sell a lot of GAR tickets. If we did
Alpha,
that, like a pay-per-view.
Alpha said that he could defeat a kangaroo in a boxing match, and
I
would love
actually
to
backed
see
him
you
in that argument.
I know. I would love to see you fight him, but I think I would like to see him fight a kangaroo first. So I think we should try to do a pay-per-view.
To get a shot at the belt. I get what you're saying. He can't just get a crack right away.
Okay, well, now that you said that, maybe we should do you and Alpha fight each other first.
To face a kangaroo.
Winner faces a kangaroo.
Right.
And then maybe above that, we do a shark. Which, by the way, we had an EBS test about sharks.
I thought that was fake, by the way, when you guys posted that.
No, that's totally real. That was totally real. That's a totally legitimate thing.
That's a bright boop.
No, there's no such thing as bright boops. That's a bright boop. It's Badlands boops or nothing. You don't get to...
Wasn't Trump's whole shark spiel like shortly after my big shark rant, or no? I can't remember.
I don't remember.
Remember when he was like, I don't want to... I don't know. He was talking about like a sinking ship and...
Yeah, whatever. Hammer Guy 35 says, decode this, so I will do my best. He sent this at my time. It's obviously July 1st. That's 7-1. Backwards is 17. So there's one decode. Let's see. If we add up the numbers, 8 plus 1, 9 plus 4, 13. We're at 18. It's almost. Those numbers almost add up to 17. So a 17 plus 1. That's a decode.
Q plus.
Yep.
That's Trump.
Yeah. What else can we do here? I'm sure there's probably a couple deltas this hits. We could probably just go and pull out a few Q post to hit
Well,
on.
as you said, today was the Devo Delta, and Trump hit the Devo Delta
With a Badlands comm and a new air in a Q airplane or whatever, and all. I mean, there's so many good things. Keith O'Higgins, since when is it wrong to root for the villain? I always rooted for the shark in the Jaws movies. Only watch NASCAR for the car crashes, and will watch soccer for the real red card nutsack kicks.
Well, Keith O'Higgins, the thing is, we know you're the bad guy. Nobody thinks you're anything but that.
I love Keith. The last time I saw Keith O'Higgins was in Vegas at Guard.
Yes.
So
Are we
hopefully he
seeing
makes
you
his
again,
return.
Keith? He's been saving up. That's why we get dollar rants out of him.
Yeah. Everyone from Alpha Warrior, everyone buy some soft disclosure tonight so John doesn't fire me. Use promo code 7076. I like how he used the brackets H in there when he knows how much I hate the bracket H. Because my dad specifically did not name me after him and my grandfather. He left the H out. And it's always just pouring at me.
He wanted to name you like a John that isn't finished yet.
You want to name me a Jonathan?
That would never go by that.
No. Unless I'm in trouble.
Defeating the purpose.
Unless I'm
so
in
your
trouble.
dad was a contrarian too.
Yeah.
A pedantic contrarian.
Yeah. But then I went back to the family namesake for my own child. So whatever. Thomas
so you
Tynes
guys had an unbroken chain and your dad just broke it and you're trying to reforge it.
Yep. Doing what I can.
Jeez.
Yeah, there's been a lot of awkward Christmases at this house.
Yeah.
Because of it.
I knew a kid in high school that was the 7th. He was
that's a lot.
Literally the 7th was in his name. I've never met a real person that had that.
Yeah, they hadn't done that since like the Kings and back in the day.
But who's going to be the one to break that?
That's
a lot. It's a lot of generations.
Infertility rates, they're going down. Maybe it just doesn't work out for who knows. Anyway, Alpha Warrior Show again says, Miss BB, are my rants an expense? I got carried away. No, they are not.
Mrs. Bright determines what is and is not an expense. She holds ultimate power of the purse.
Yeah, I keep an eye on those, though. Some people get a little greedy with what they send in as expenses.
Yeah.
Keith O'Higgins, instead of Jack Reacher, Burning Bright could play Jack Reach Around.
It's true.
It's true. And the Mac Southwest Patriot. BB, what's your take on the Brinks and minifigs? Have you seen that whole thing?
I have no idea what that is.
So you don't have a take. We're going to cover that on a basic conspiracies at some point. It has to do with Legos and a guy getting ripped off out of his Lego collection.
I've seen that trending everywhere, but I was like, I can't spend the energy on this.
Yeah, it's probably fair. You probably don't need to right now. It's not done yet. When it's done, we'll do a conspiracy episode on it, and you can check it out. All right.
Thomas, what? Oh, Thomas Times said I interrupted his rant. I heard your first interview on X22 the day Dave aired it. Been following you ever since. Keep it up.
Oh yeah, thank you, Thomas Times. He did interrupt me.
That's probably
true.
where I saw you too. I don't remember.
Yeah, you've been stalking me for a while, but a lot of people. It's funny how many people say that. It's like, hey, I found you through X22. I was like, oh, that's cool. Do you still listen to X22? No.
But the people who do hate you.
Yeah.
That's actually like a good test.
Yeah.
That's like a split test. Like most people probably found you through X22 initially, the people who found you like right away. Then there's people maybe a couple years later that found you through just the internet, etc.
Yeah.
But the people who still watch X22 absolutely hate you. The people who no longer do, I don't know, man. Judging by their internet accounts.
Yeah, true. Some of them do.
Be real.
So funny. Yeah. So that's one of the things I was reflecting on today is like,
how much
it's been 5 years since right now, and like all the things that have happened since then, and like how much work I've put into this, and how many people I've like supported along the way, and like tried to bring up with me, and then how much that has just pissed people off, and how many people have like turned on me over it. And just are willing to lie.
The most, I would say, are the ones who all did that.
Some of the people who have taken the most advantage of me have been the ones who've turned on me the hardest. That is true. But I've had all the best intentions, and I'm going to keep having those intentions and keep plugging away. We got another good 5 years ahead of us, I think. So, yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna say bye to YouTube because Babbage3 on YouTube says, I found John through the New York Times. That's great.
Was he an official Q influencer?
Q promoter, yeah.
Q promoter.
I'm going to say bye to YouTube, though. We appreciate you, but we're going to say goodbye so we can play this Watchmen.
By the way, we've gotten a little more traction on YouTube over there.
Yeah.
Some of the panel replays. If any of you didn't know that, by the way, several of the day one, what was it, 3 panels? The day one, or the first panel of all 3 days is on YouTube. It's on Rumble. If you guys want to check that out, if you haven't seen the virtual, etc.
Yeah, check that out. And we're going to be posting more clips there. I haven't gotten around to it yet, but we are going to be putting more of the panel clips up on YouTube. It's that is a great way to help us. I know a lot of people hate CommuniTube, but for whatever it's worth, Rumble is Rumble's Rumble, and they're fighting the good fight. They're trying to get more sponsors in and monetize it more. They're not always as successful in getting that streaming money as YouTube is, and we're trying to just tap into that a little bit. So go over there, hit that thumbs up. We appreciate it. And but yeah, we're going to say goodbye to YouTube right now, and then we are going to